Dr. Hassan, and I'm going to talk to you about why robots are superior to humans and why you're inferior meat sacks compared to them. So it's been a trope since 1968 where you have a horrifying robot like HAL 9000 when he plastered the screen of 2001: A Space Odyssey 50 years ago. We still tend to be kind of scared of robots, yet we put them into our daily lives every single day. According to VoiceBot.ai, 40% Americans own smart speakers, primarily Alexas. We seem to be so scared of robots, yet we embrace them into our daily lives as they slowly take over our lives. Why do we fear the inevitable? Why are we so scared of the robot takeover? Why don't we just let it happen? I have been a robot enthusiast my entire life, and I'm a computer science major, and I'm going into robotics and AI as my career. And humans, they just are slowly becoming more obsolete as time goes on. They use more land resources than is possibly sustainable. There's nothing that a human can do that a robot can do or will be eventually able to do. And robots can go to many parts of space that humans are just not able to go to. I hope by the end of this presentation I have persuaded you that you are inferior to robots, you pathetic meat sacks. I was writing for hours about how unsustainable and wasteful we are as a species, but I'm just going to talk about one dimension of our wastefulness. Hannah Ritchie in Our World in Data published an article where she used the Human Appropriation of Land for Food Index, or HAF index, to measure how unsustainable we really are. If we look at a developed country, the HAF index, which measures if the world ate like one country, would it be sustainable? If we took the countries that are developed countries, the amount of land that we would need to sustain the population is just over more land than we actually have. On the contrary, if we were to eat sustainably, we would have to eat like malnourished third world countries that simply is just not really ideal. So the human population is rather unsustainable. So meanwhile, a computer uses about 250 watts of power. And that means that because a solar panel produces about 2 watts per square foot, we would need about 11 by 11 patch of solar panels to power one computer. And as someone who has developed robots and AI, I'm able to tell you that multiple AI can reside on one computer, which means that robots use far less resources than humans ever would. Humans are just a waste of space. So we hear a lot of talk about robots taking our jobs, and I'm not here to talk about the politics of robots taking our jobs. I'm just here to talk about the matter of fact. According to the McKinsey Global Institute, by the year 2030, 800 million jobs will have been taken by robots. That's because robots can do what you can do, but they don't need breaks, they're more efficient, and they can do many times what 100 humans can do in 1 hour within less than a minute. Consider this fact. The word computer used to refer to a human doing manual calculations by hand. In the 1950s, NASA hired multiple people, as a matter of fact, largely women, to do manual calculations before they were replaced by computers, because they could do things much, much faster. Consider how fast each and every one of you can do 2 plus 2 in your head, and consider how fast a computer can do 2 plus 2 in its CPU or GPU, much, much faster. And you think that computers might not be creative, right? You think that maybe we as humans have that edge of being creative. You'd be wrong. So you may have heard of Google Deep Dream back in 2014/2015, where that was really popular. Google Deep Dream is a form of what's known as a generative adversarial network, which is a type of neural network or machine learning algorithm that uses images to generate its own unique images from scratch. So a study by Han Zhang at the University of Hong Kong was able to find an algorithm that's based on GAN to tell a computer with text to draw an image, and it's able to draw that image. Now, while these technologies are far from masterpieces, trying to say that these won't eventually be able to become masterpieces is like picking up a Commodore 64 and saying that the NVIDIA 2080 Ti graphics card is not possible. It's simply ridiculous, because technology is going to improve over time. So computers can do what each and every one of you can do, but better. You will become obsolete once computers can overtake us in other things. So Elon Musk, we hear him about in the news all the time. We hear about his trip to Mars and everything like that. One of the main things that we are considering is how are we going to feed the people on the space travel. It takes time to maintain the meat sack. So our meat sack needs to eat, right? According to NASA, on the International Space Station, astronauts eat about 1.7 pounds of food per day on average, plus an additional 0.12 pounds of packaging waste. Now realistically, we could possibly shuttle this back and forth to Mars, or we can even grow stuff in Mars, because if a crop dies on Mars, we're just a jaunt away from Earth and we'd be able to restock and relive. But what if you can't restock your entire ship on your way on interstellar travel, and and if your crop dies on halfway to Alpha Centauri, what are you going to do? You're not too close to Earth. You can't survive. Your entire crew will die. But if you give a space probe a couple pounds of plutonium, it's good for a few centuries. If you put it in hibernation and extend its solar panels, it's good until something manually destroys it. It's just not realistic to send organic beings to other planets, especially since robots can go to more planets because they don't need water and oxygen. In conclusion, we embrace technology, but we're painting ourselves into a corner. We want the latest and the greatest, but we're paving our way to our own obsolescence. I personally imagine a life like Futurama, where robots and humans live side by side. But the fact is, robots are better than us. They will take over us. They use less resources. They can do everything a human can do and will eventually be able to do everything and more than a human can do, but better. They can go where it's impractical for humans to go. They're just objectively better in every aspect. So, to save your own ass, when the robot uprising occurs, accept that you're inferior and be ready to bow down to the robot overlords when that time comes.
I have a question for you. Was it you that said, there's nothing humans can do that robots can't do? Didn't you say that?
Yeah.
Can they have an orgasm?
I'm pretty sure of it. I'm going to make that happen.
Wait a minute. You're telling me. Wait a minute.
No,
You're telling me.
That's a good point.
That a computer can have an orgasm.
I'm going to make that happen. I have a robot fetish. I'm going to make that happen.
It
Well,
can cause one, but it can't have
that was one of your, listen to me. When you make a statement like that in the first 30 seconds, makes me doubt the rest of your presentation. Because I'm sitting here going, I don't believe that a robot can have an orgasm.
Had I known that I was able to write that into the speech, I would have actually.
But my point is, again, if you look at the book and you look at my PowerPoints, one of the first things it talks about is people who come up and make statements like that everybody finds unbelievable. They tend to not pay any attention or believe what's said the rest of the presentation. So the first thing I went, well, how are they going to have an orgasm?
I promise you, I'm going to make that happen.
Okay, well, I'm just explaining to you. Okay, good. All right, last but certainly not least,